Hello, welcome back to the Bearded Hobbit. Today's project, we will be switching a normal light switch out with a motion sensor light switch. All right, so for today's project, we have just a normal light switch that goes to one light. We're gonna be switching it out for a Lutron, I think that's correct pronunciation, occupancy sensor. Basically what this does is when you enter the room, it senses the motion, flips on the light. You can set it for how long you want that light on once you leave, and then it will turn itself off. This is great for closets, which is what we're putting it in today. I've already placed these in the bathrooms downstairs and with my kids. So if they get up at night, it will turn on for them because my little one can't quite reach that light switch just yet. So these are great. I saw these at a buddy's house and I said, you know what? These are probably pretty simple to put in. So I went and picked up a couple. So what I'm going to talk about today, just briefly, is how to wire these. They are super simple, so this is really good for people that have never done this before, but you're interested in doing it yourself. I will show you a quick wiring diagram because if you know a little bit about electricity, when you look these up, one of the things that caught my attention is that it said no neutral needed. And I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean no neutral? Everything has a neutral. So I figured it out after I kind of thought about it for a second, and I'll show you exactly what they mean. Okay, so here's our little diagram. This is the switch that we're going to be taking out. Now, what's going on in there? Very simply put, this little blue box represents our switch here. Okay, in this case, we are using a very specific Lutron switch. Okay, this is the model that we're using, okay, which is for the single pole. Okay, you can see it listed right here. If you're working in a garage or a larger room that has more lighting than just one light switch, you're going to need to get a different one. You're going to get the appropriate model for what the load is carrying. Okay, so you can just simply go onto the website and they will tell you what you need. So this is for one switch, one light bulb. Okay, so here's what's going on inside this box before we even pull it off. There's two situations here. Situation number one is pretty much what my house is wired. You have just your normal wire running to your box, your switch rather. Okay, so you have black is hot, green is going to be your ground, and then you're going to have a white wire, which is your neutral, and that's going to run to your box. From your switch out, you have a hot and a neutral. Okay, so that's how mine is wired. Now, what's going on inside this box? Really what's happening is the neutrals do not go to the light switch. Okay, so whenever I showed you the little bitty light switch here, if you look on these, there's only two places to put three. There's your ground, and then two places to put a wire. What's happening inside here is this hot, which is your black, goes on one of these. Your other one goes on to the other, okay? The neutrals, which are the white, they actually just tie in to each other. So there's just a wire nut on them that they're just touching. So what happens is when you switch the switch on, all you're doing is connecting these two hots, and that allows that circuit to complete and then go back through, okay? So whenever they say no neutral needed, what they're talking about is there's no place on this switch, as I'm going to show you, for neutrals to attach. The same way there's no place for neutrals to attach on this switch, okay? That's all that means. Now you could run into a situation like this where the neutral doesn't even go into the box. And the neutral just simply runs to the light. Okay, so if you open up your switch over here and you don't see a neutral, this is probably the configuration that you're going to have. Okay, if you're not comfortable with that, I totally understand because I've run into situations where I didn't see a neutral. I've turned off the breaker and there was still power running to it. So there were some weird wiring issues that were going on that I had to fix. It actually was up in somebody jumped off the bulb and did some weird stuff, so I had to fix that. Okay. This is for the DI wire. If you've never wired something, this is really what you're looking at. For those of you that are looking at a switch that is a three-way switch, you're going to need to look at a different wiring setup. And I, again, refer to the Lutron website on how to do that correctly. And if you're not comfortable with working with electricity, then again, you may want to ask somebody to come in and do this for you, but this is super, super simple. If you notice, I'm not using a lot of terminology. I'm doing this simply for those of you that have never wired something before, or you've only done one or two small projects, okay? Electricity is something to be respected. I've learned that since I was a kid. My dad's an electrician. So I've picked up a few things from him. And if I ever have a question, that's my go-to guy, of course. Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Notice the power's still on. So the first thing you do, of course, is go kill the power. And let me give you a word of advice. You know, you can leave this light switch on, go flip the breaker, and when the light goes off, you're like, okay, there's no power running to it. That's all well and good, but please realize that sometimes, depending on who wired this, you can have some weird stuff going on in here. So it's always a good idea just to go through with either a meter, or sometimes you can purchase the little light bulbs, meters. Just go touch some wires and make sure that everything is dead inside. Okay, so I'm gonna crack this open and show you what it looks like after I take the switch out. All right, power is off, so we are dead in this. So like I said, here all we have are our three. We've got our two hots and our ground. So now all we do is we take these off, and I'll show you the wiring diagram, but we're doing the exact same thing on the other switch, and that's it. The neutrals, you can see, are back here tied together. All right, so I'll show you what the other light switch looks like installed. Okay, there we have it. We've got our two hots tied in and our ground. Now, the ground has to be attached. If you do not have ground running to the box, these will not work, okay? So you've got to have the ground. Not only is the green ground, but also this extra grounded line also comes in. So both of these have to be tied in. This is all seen in the instructions. The what, you might say? Yes, the instructions. Read them a time or two. Don't just throw them away. All right, so all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put this back in, screw this to the box, and then put a nice little fancy plate over it. However, you don't have to buy the Lutron branded face plates, the wall plates. You can just get the ones that fit any dimmer switch, and they work just fine too, and they're quite a bit cheaper. And that's it for the installation. They're really simple, like I said. There's different varieties that you can get depending on what room you're trying to do, but it's the same as replacing just a simple single pole light switch. Extremely easy. I love these things. They're great for kids, like I said. I've already enjoyed using those in the other bathrooms because it makes it nice and easy. So be sure to make sure that you get the correct one. Double check your breakers always, and always double check your work as you turn your breakers on. Make sure everything looks good. If you would, go ahead and hit subscribe for any more DIYs I'll throw up. You'll be notified of those. All right, guys, thanks for watching, and I've got tons of other videos coming up soon. Hope you enjoy. Thanks.